of the week, we start talking about the program for the following week. And if I were an American citizen sitting at home watching this, I'd be so confused about what's going on. And so I felt compelled tonight to come down here and just talk a little bit about what's going on. So my colleagues back in the offices, and if anybody else is paying any attention, they can really find out what's going on in this place. This last fiscal year, just passed, we went in the hole $1.4 trillion. $1.4 trillion. So far, this fiscal year, in 2 months, we're ahead of last year's fiscal year. We were $1.4 trillion in the hole last year, this last fiscal year, and we're already ahead of that this year. The health care bill that's pending in the Senate is going to cost between $1 and $3 trillion, probably closer to $3 trillion if it passes. We passed an omnibus spending bill yesterday that cost $447 billion. Now, these aren't millions. We're talking about billions and trillions. The cap and trade bill that they're talking about that's going to raise everybody's electric bills and gasoline bills and gas bills to heat their house is going to cost $894 billion. We are digging ourselves into a hole that is unbelievable, and yet I hear my colleagues on the other side of the aisle say, you know, we're going to create jobs, we're going to solve these problems, everything's coming up roses, and it isn't. I talked to some of the pages in the back today, young people that are out here, and they're getting a chance to see how Congress works. And I actually feel sorry for them because we're creating an environment when they grow up and get out and get a job, they're going to be faced with very high inflation and very high taxes. There's no way to pay for all the things we're doing the way we're going. There's just no way. Medicare and Medicaid, Medicare's close to being bankrupt, and on the other side they're talking about lowering the people that can become a participant in Medicare to 55. That's another 30-some million people they want to add to it, and it's supposed to go bankrupt in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. I mean, it just does not make sense. And then in addition to that, and these are all facts, they want to increase taxes, and they want to let the tax cuts we passed in about 2001 expire, which means that's a tax increase. If they expire, then they're going to go up, those tax cuts. So they're going to raise taxes that way as well. They talk about jobs in the economy. Taking money from the taxpayer and throwing it at the economy is not working. They tried that with the stimulus bill, over $1 trillion when you include interest, and the jobless rate went up to 10.2%, and the president said before he took office he wouldn't let it go above 8%. Now they're bragging because it's back down to 10%, and it's probably going to go up again. You can't create jobs with government money and throwing money at it. You've got to do something to stimulate the small businessman and the private sector. And the way you do that is the way Ronald Reagan did it. You come in and you say, okay, to the businessman, we're going to cut your taxes so you can keep people on the payroll and hire people and produce more product. And you say to the consumer, the guy that's working, we're going to cut your taxes. You'll have more money to go out and buy a refrigerator or a car or something else. And because of that, you create a demand economy. You start creating people wanting to buy things. And the producer's going to produce things. And you're going to have more people working because you're going to have people working to produce those things. And that's what Reagan did. And we had 20 years of economic growth. And they're doing just the opposite right now. Right now, this administration and the Democrats in Congress are taking over the automobile industry. We all know that. They're trying to take over the health industry with socialized medicine, which is 1/6 of our economy. They're trying to take over the energy area, which is going to raise everybody's cost of electricity and gasoline and gas with the cap and trade bill. And they're trying to control completely the financial industry, the banks and Wall Street and everything else. Socialism simply does not work. Blowing taxpayers' money like we're doing it does not work. We're creating an environment right now where we're going to see real economic chaos, and I believe everybody in America feels it. When I go to my town meetings and have 500 or 600 people show up when we used to have 40, they feel it. They know what's going on, and they want government to get out of the way. They want jobs created, but they know that it has to be created through the private sector. Government can't give unless it takes. And it's taking and taking and taking and taking. So I'd just like to say to my colleagues back in their office and anybody else that pays attention, if I were talking to the American people, I'd say, call your congressman and senator and tell them to stop this madness.
Chair now.